as a woman in leadership, a lot of times we find ourselves in these situations. And in this video, I'm going to share with you what you can do when your executive presence is under fire as a woman in leadership, in hopes that it helps you to be able to navigate these situations when they come up. Now, one of the main reasons that women tend to struggle with this topic is that there are certain things that happen specifically when we are in different roles. And we're going to dive in that today. So you absolutely want to watch this video until the end so you can start implementing some of the strategies that I mentioned to you immediately. So the next time you are in a meeting and your executive presence is under fire, you have a couple of clear strategies to help you. Now, if you are new to me, welcome, welcome. And if you are one of my absolutely amazing subscribers, welcome back, friend. This channel heavily focuses on advanced communication skills and strategies that will help you to communicate more confidently and concisely under pressure. How many of you have been in your leadership roles and get the sense that perhaps your executive presence may not be where it needs to be? If you answer this question yes, and you feel this way, there's a couple things that I want to share with you. Number one, developing executive presence is something that you can absolutely do. And number two, subscribe to this channel, because this is where you are going to learn how to develop your skills under pressure. One of the strategies I want to share with you today, as it relates to being a woman in a corporate leadership role, is that there's a couple things that will help you to start developing your executive presence, and especially have it prepared for when you go under fire. Now, I do want to say that many times as leaders in general, and often as women, depending on what the situation is or what's actually being said, how you respond dictates how people perceive you. Now, I've seen this happen, and this has happened to me personally, and it's happened to several women that I know of, that when they speak out about an issue or a topic, they are placed in a category of being aggressive or being not nice or being too outspoken. And as a woman in leadership, these are situations that really, truly do happen in reality. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever experienced this before. All right, I want to say hello to Kathan Mahed. Hello, how you doing today, Kathan? Hope you're doing well today. And hello to all of you watching the live today. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And has your executive presence ever been under fire? Put it in the comments below. Let's talk about today. Now, a couple strategies that I want to share with you as leaders specifically that will help you, especially as a woman in leadership, are that there's going to be situations where people will say that you're being aggressive, you're being argumentative, you're being outspoken just because you're speaking up about an issue. Now, I know how deeply unsettling that is. I've experienced it myself, but I'm here to share with you, this is the reality. This does happen from time to time in the corporate setting or in businesses and etc. So what can you do? What can you do exactly to help this not be so much of an issue for you? One of the things I do want to say that will help you as a starter is to, one, be consistent in how you communicate. Being consistent helps out tremendously. If you're that leader that tends to not be consistent, meaning that if there's a situation that happens and you go off on someone, and there's another situation that happens where you are relatively calm, it makes it very difficult for people to be able to work with you, and it completely will start to destroy your executive presence. So you want to be consistent in terms of how you're speaking to people, how you're communicating to everybody, so that when those challenging situations come up and when you have to be more outspoken, it doesn't look like it's something that's outside of your norm in terms of how you normally communicate. Now, on this channel, we talk about your baseline and being very mindful of what your baseline is in terms of how you communicate. I'm not going to go into detail on that in this video, but there's a lot of videos that we talk about tone of voice, so you definitely want to check those out. Now, before I go into my next strategy for you to help you with this issue, I want to say, okay, Katham says, how have you been? Katham, friend, I've been fantastically well. I hope you've been well also, and good to see you today. Now, my second strategy for you, I talked about being consistent as it relates to your executive presence. Let me know, when have you felt that your executive presence was not where it needed to be? Or perhaps you had a moment where your executive presence was exactly where it needed to be. Put in the comments below. Let's talk about it today. My second strategy for you in terms of helping you to maintain your executive presence, especially when you're in those very high stakes, high pressure situations when you are under fire, has to do with the three aspects of communication that I talk about at length on the channel. There's a lot of aspects of communication that many people struggle with. However, I have found, and this is not a all-inclusive list, I'm just providing you with three. I have found that if you can start working on enhancing or mastering these three aspects of how you communicate as a leader, it will help you out tremendously in your leadership role. One, work on being able to feel comfortable with silence in a conversation. Work on making eye contact and controlling your facial expressions. Regardless of what role or position you're in as a leader or as a woman in leadership, if you start working on these three skills, they will help you to stand out from everybody else. Why? Most people are not comfortable with eye contact. It makes them feel awkward, right? Are you comfortable with eye contact? Think about it. Most people struggle with silence in a conversation. Why? Because silence feels awkward. No one wants to be in the dead zone in a conversation, right? And finally, when it comes to facial expressions, sometimes people just simply can't control them. Have you ever been in a situation where you could not control your facial expressions? We all have been there at some point in time. And this is the reason why this is so much of an issue, specifically as it relates to having an executive presence. Therefore, when you're in those situations and you're under fire, if you can control facial expressions, eye contact, and silence, those three aspects in a conversation, you will definitely stand out from everybody else in the room. And when you're under fire, it helps to set that invisible boundary that you will need as a leader when you are in those situations that may be a bit more complicated as a woman in leadership. Now, we're going to go into a couple of other strategies here in just a moment, but let me go to the chat. Drip Nugget, D8V, hello, welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well today. Drip Nugget says, what do you think about Jesus? Jesus is king. I agree with you, Drip Nugget. Appreciate you being here today. Now, another strategy I want to share with you as a leader is that there's going to be situations where you will feel as if your emotions take over you. They completely take over you. And when you are in those situations and your executive presence is under fire, try not to do that. Now, can you still feel emotions? Of course, we're humans. This is what we do. However, your emotions have to be in a strategic place when you are making decisions as an executive, and especially if you're in high stakes, high pressure, highly visible situations where your executive presence is under fire. You can feel a lot, but be strategic in terms of how you explain it or how you display it. Now, we're going to another strategy here in just a moment, but I want to know from you, when have you seen someone's executive presence take a nosedive? When it has not been the way that you thought that it was? What was the situation and what did you learn from it? Put it in the comments below. All right, we have Ed Brooke. High five, Ed. Good to see you, friend. How you doing today, Ed? Hope you're doing well. So we've talked about a couple things so far for those of you joining. We have talked about executive presence under fire. There's a couple things that can factor into that in ways you can help protect yourself when you're under fire. Number one is consistency. I talk about this a lot. The key to executive presence, there's a lot of keys, okay? There's a lot of ways to become very successful and develop an unshakable executive presence that is recognized by everyone. But being consistent with it is the key. Consistency is very important. I shared with you the three aspects of communication that will help you to stand out if you master them. And we just spoke briefly about emotions. Not letting your emotions get the best of you, because when your emotions get the best of you, your executive presence, instead of going up, will go down very, very fast. And I don't want you to be in those type of situations whatsoever. Now, there's another strategy I want to share with you, and as I think of them, I will definitely share them with you. As it relates to your executive presence under fire, your tone of voice is going to be very important when you're under fire. And let me explain to you why. Well, first, we talked about that this morning. And if you want to learn one simple trick that will help you to control your tone of voice, then check out the live video here on my live tab that talks about that. I may put it into a playlist, so if you do not see it in the live tab, know that it's going to go into one of my playlists. I haven't decided which one I'm going to put it in just yet. Perhaps Executive Presence Mastery, we'll see. But your tone of voice makes a big difference. If you are in the situation where you're under fire, if you are responding back in a very timid, shy, oh, I'm scared, I'm so scared type of way, the whole room is going to know that you definitely don't have an executive presence, and it will discredit your authority instantly. And I don't want you to be in that situation, especially if you're one of my subscribers to my channel or you're one of my clients. As you all know, there's better ways for us to be able to communicate, and I don't want you to communicate in that way. But your tone of voice is going to be very important, especially when you are under fire, because how you respond under fire will either gain the attention of the room or the room will not want to pay attention to you anymore. And I'd rather you be the earlier version of what I just mentioned. So I've shared with you a couple of strategies that will help you in these situations when they come up, when your executive presence is under fire. Now, as I mentioned in this video specifically, I was highlighting what happens and what can happen and help women that are in leadership roles. All the things I shared with you will help you be able to manage yourself when you're under pressure in those very challenging situations. Keep in mind, people do think this way, unfortunately. They do think sometimes if you're outspoken or if you say something or if you're very articulate or very concise, oh, she's aggressive, oh, she's being mean. And just know that when people say those type of things, they most of the time have their own internal biases that they're dealing with. And you have to just continue being consistent in terms of how you are articulating and showcasing your executive presence. Now, if you are in a situation where you know the way you communicate is not the way that you need to communicate moving forward, perhaps you are trying to put yourself in a better position financially, but you're just not sure how to communicate. Maybe you're the person that tends to freeze a lot when you're in front of a group, or maybe you are an executive that has to do a lot as it relates to being more visible in public, and you feel like you're just not quite ready yet, then you're welcome to reach out to me for an executive strategy session at exciteexcellence.org. We will absolutely come up with a very good strategy, a solid strategy that you can start implementing immediately that will help you to be able to develop that roadmap in terms of where you want to go and where you want to move forward. Now, we went over a couple things so far. I appreciate you all so much, especially as my subscribers and individuals that are watching this information. My mission here is to create the largest high-stakes communication content library for leaders on planet Earth. And I am working on that every single day. If you have any specific challenges or situations you are dealing with where you are not quite sure, how do I handle this? How can I communicate this as a leader? You are more than welcome to put it in any of the videos that are on my channel in terms of the comment section, because I'm here to support you. Please come to me with the hard things. Not the easy situations I can definitely navigate, but my expertise is in the more challenging topics and subjects that come up. So if you have something you're truly dealing with, then let me know. And if it's something that's a bit more sensitive, feel free to contact me on any social media platform. I will tell you that I spend a bit more time here on YouTube, of course, but I also spend time on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. So feel free to send me a direct message to either one of those, and you're always welcome to reach out to me at info@exciteexcellence.org. Now, since we talked about executive presence mastery, I would highly recommend for you to spend some time with this topic. If you like this information so far, you're welcome to subscribe to the channel. I go live here on YouTube at least 7 to 8 times a week. And I go over topics that will help you communicate at a higher level than your peers and give you an unfair advantage as it relates to how you communicate compared to everybody else. If you like this information, you are more than welcome to take a look at my Executive Presence Mastery playlist. It will have several videos there that will feed into this one and enhance your executive presence, because this topic is a topic that many people struggle with, because the word executive presence has been not treated properly. Many people put it in forms of formulas. Many people will give you a definition of it that's about that long for the executive presence in terms of what it means. In my very humble definition of executive presence is your ability to influence and inspire other people as a leader. Very simple. So learn from me. Learn as much as you can. And if you have some topics you want to discuss, let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you in the Executive Presence Mastery playlist.